And you are live.
Aloha, snack bar. Good morning, everyone. It's the one, the only Senor Silverback, coming to you live on another edition of Mornings with V and CJ, the denizen of the deep, the uncanny one of the airwaves, and we are back breaking down the news, the information from all across and all parts of the world. With that being said, check us out on Twitter at the Rogue Money, the Rogue Money Facebook, and RogueMoney.net, where it is the only site out there that makes the most amount of sense anywhere, period. Also, check out our sponsors. If you have any debt problems, if you have any credit issues, check out myfreedomnow.us, myfreedomnow.us. Book an appointment with yours truly today, where this silverback will reach out and call you to discuss how you can be free from debt. With that being said, CJ, what is on our radar, bro?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, V. Yeah, so just want to talk about some great articles that are up on roguemoney.net the last few days. I know I've been
Yeah, man.
having to go back and read through them, but Bankster Slayer had a great article, Myth, Information, and Forbidden Fruit. So that's a
Yeah.
great article that she has up there. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She talks a little bit around consciousness and the talk around being able to remove our consciousness and place it into a hub, if you will, being able to store it, wrong or right, everything else, but basically talks about the whole transhumanism movement that's there. But yeah, great article. I had to read it through it a couple times, but check that out. Also we had
Yeah.
Ken Shorgan Jr. throw up article, also great article up there as well. And then you had one, V. You had a great article up there as well. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think it's important that look. There's a lot of disinfo coming out, and there's a lot of BS out there, and people need to understand what it's all what it is. Look, you got a lot of. Well, I'm gonna say it, man. There's I forward a particular article that was on a particular website to James, and I said, James, the Russian analyst. I said, James, just debunk this because there's a lot of horse crap. Yeah, there's a lot of like misinformation by guys who are very good domestically on stuff. They're great at breaking news domestically, but man, they suck on an international level. They have no freaking clue of what's going on an international level. That's why I said, there's only a handful of sites, there's only a handful of sources out there that are really, really good at connecting the international to the domestic and then making it all make sense. You know, a serious report, Rogue Money, Golden Jackass. So you can count on one hand to do that. Everybody else is freaking clueless. I cannot emphasize the freaking clueless part. Okay, the American Maidan to understand what the freak is going on. Okay, what the real breakdown is because coming out from thither and yon that we're going to be breaking down soon. I'm going to have James on it. James is going to wreck it to pieces. Anyway, but check that out. Also, it kind of shows to you what's really at play. And I don't get into all the nitty gritty details and this, that, and the other, but I kind of sum up for you guys what the whole situation is. Okay, what it is what it is that we're facing, what's really going on in the world, and what's really what is the real perspective? What is a true perspective? That's the most important thing here, because if you lose that perspective, then none of this makes any freaking sense. Okay, and the thing that makes it so different and refreshing, none of us over there at Rogue Money, none of us are dying. Okay, so she just American on my damn, but myth, information, and forbidden fruit. Sorry, liberals, but most Arab Americans, Islamic State, don't care about Trump's new migration ban, and Donbass War, Ukrainian Army Offensive. All wonderful articles on RogueMoney.net. Gives you esoteric as well as the geostrategic and geopolitical all in one shot. So check that out. Being said, CJ, what else is on the radar, my friend?
Yeah, let's talk about this big move with Japan in terms of investments with their pensions into U.S. infrastructure. I mean, that's a huge move, right? I mean, that's got to be a big move on their part, more of a confidence booster into the direction that we're heading. V, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, man. I mean, Japan. Well, it's pretty interesting because according to Japanese Nikkei, the infrastructure investments in the U.S. by Japan's GPIF, okay, will feature heavily in economic cooperation packages at next week's summit in Washington between the two countries' leaders. The stated goal is to create hundreds of thousands of American jobs in keeping with U.S. President Donald Trump's agenda. Two countries. The unstated goal is to avoid Trump lashing out at Japan as a currency manipulator and putting in peril Japan's QQE, which is basically a quantitative easing to infinity. It's a curve control experiment, which is the bedrock of Abenomics, as further explained. Peace. Japan has grown nervous that after Mexico, China, and Germany, it may be the next nation to find itself at Trump's spotlight. What's happening, people? Do you see what is happening? The world is terrified. The world has been run by politicians and leaders who are a bunch of lambs. The world has been run by politicians and leaders who are just like to talk out of their mouths. A bunch of yes men. They didn't have the cojones. They didn't have a spine. All of a sudden, here comes an alpha dog like Trump, and now they're worried about what he will do to them. Now they're concerned. So Japan, their bond market is a disaster. Their bond market is it's even worse than ours at some levels. Their stock market is a joke. I think the latest count CJ thinks over 50%, maybe almost 60% of the Tokyo stock market is owned by the BOJ itself.
Correct.
The economy is in a bloody bubble that can be done in order to stabilize Japan and diversify its absolutely, nuclear tripwire, pension funds that are sitting there in the trillions of dollars is to reinvest it elsewhere. Now, this is not the first time they've done it. They've invested, you have Japanese pension funds and Japanese insurances that have invested in European infrastructure and whatnot. And that came apart because of the whole situation in the Eurozone. So America seems to be the next best thing. So this is what they're trying to do, man. They're trying to stabilize their funds by investing it in American infrastructure projects, which is great for us because it leads to hundreds of thousands of jobs, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they understand what a vibrant U.S. economy does, not only for the U.S. but for the world. So yeah, it's a great move on their part.
Man, it's they're going to invest $1.14 trillion, bro.
That's huge.
That's huge. That's huge. And that's what's that's an incredible proposition. I mean, that's some MAGA news right there, man.
That is absolutely.
Now the question is, do you think that would have happened if Hillary Clinton was in office?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So what's this I hear that the muchachos south of the border are now scared because Senor Trump is talking about calling in the troops?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. When I read through this, there's been an update as well, and you talked about it earlier regarding the MSM's goal is to control the narrative. So as you go through and you see articles of different releases, there's always something you want to read through. But according to the AP, which is supposedly a transcript that they had received in regards to a conversation with Mexico's president Nieto, which was intended to patch things up between the new president and the Mexican peer. Apparently Trump has threatened to send in U.S. troops to quote unquote bad hombres down there unless the Mexican military does more to control them itself. So, whether or not he said it, he has spoken at large in regards to, hey, listen, the drug trade, it's ridiculous amount of drugs, coming over. And it'd be great to see a move here in the U.S. to reschedule, cannabis, which I think could help in some part in regards to that. It's been known in the states that have legalized that, usage and the cartels, but there's so many other drugs that are coming across IV, and Mexico is such a corrupt state, country. The drug cartels, they fund the local police, they fund, the government, the president, and he's absolutely right that something has got to be done on their part. How many thousands of lives in Mexico where they find these mass graves and decapitated bodies hanging from bridges and everything? It's ridiculous, right?
Oh man, totally, bro, totally. The other thing is also is that we need to eradicate these guys We need to put them out of business in a two-front approach. The most sensible approach is, of course, you got to take them out, but the most sensible thing you can do is legalize the drugs. Then that takes care of the nefariousness right away. You know, it ends it. But you also need to take out the cartels, because once you legalize the drugs, these guys will be moving into other things. They'll go from drug trafficking to human trafficking.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
it's these bad hombres need to be dealt with one way or another. I mean, once we have certain quote unquote drugs legalized, like marijuana, the next thing we need to do is take these individuals out, because they'll migrate directly from drug trafficking to human trafficking and any other type of other criminal activities. There's a myriad of criminal activities that these guys can be doing. So these guys need to go.
Yeah, and you know that you're exactly right. And by far, that's one of the arguments that I've consistently maintained is that, you know what, as opposed to, yes, a strong border is great, but if you really want to solve the illegal immigration flow, is that you need to help fix Mexico. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what
absolutely.
Trump's doing here. Make it that those people want to stay. Make it that, people talk about the wage disparity and income disparity here in the United States. Well, it's 10 times worse in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just ridiculous. But anyway, yeah. So again, whether he said that directly or not, or someone took it out of context, it's kind of unsaid at this point. But he definitely has talked at large in regards to the drug trade, and this ties right back into be another great article in regards to U.S. imperialism and what we have done the last several years in regards to the CIA and our covert operations, and in part, to the drug trade. I mean, there's no doubt that when you look at Afghanistan's a perfect example where the Taliban were wiping out and were burning the poppy fields, and now you look at the U.S. has taken over, and our military spends more time guarding the poppy fields, and heroin addiction here in the United States is out the roof, and they're finding bodies in cars. People are ODing there. This is a perfect example of why this whole system needs to change and why Trump is out to do that.
Right.
So,
Right.
and in terms of the Council on Foreign Relations and the direction that it heads, do you want to talk about that, V, as well, as far as those changes?
Oh man, I mean, Trump is completely putting an end to the deep state imperialism, the American imperialism. Man, they put American on. It's just shame, but Trump's putting an end to it, man. And what's happening is that if you look at from 47 till 1947 till recently, okay, we've been on a gunboat diplomacy. We've been on a bomb, pillage, and exploit program for many decades. I mean, I think we've overthrown practically elected countries in the last 50 years. The CIA deep state body count it's 5-10 million plus individuals who've been killed by U.S. engineered political upheavals, U.S. engineered I can't call it U.S. It's not us. This is deep state engineered upheavals, deep state engineered revolutions. I mean, the body count is astronomical. Maybe 10 to 15 million at the most. So what's happening for the first time ever is that it is starting to change. It is absolutely starting to change. And one of the things that's being said, Trump's entire focus is to get us away from this insane and expensive path of being the empire that brings around globalization to being a nation state that deals with its own issues, its own problems, and seeks to deal favorably with other countries throughout the world. So that's the big change, and the globalists, man, the globalists in the in the U.S., they don't know how to deal with it, man. They don't know how to deal with it because Donald Trump's undertaken the most important reform structures in the United States for over almost 70 years, man. For the first time in 70 years, he's put an end to the imperial project, and he's reshaping the country into a nation state. That is a God honest, real story here. And the piece at Voltaire.net was put up by a French intellectual and founder of the Voltaire Network, which is Thierry Maidan. Incredible, just incredible. I mean, the world sees it, CJ. World sees it,
Yeah,
except
yeah.
those who think Donald Trump's controlled that position because I talked to my cousin who works as a janitor in the
I'm sorry.
Unified School District in South Hamburg, and he said that he's controlled that position. I tend to believe him.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. But apart from that, the world. I mean, the nations are like, please don't even look at us. We'll do whatever you want. Unreal.
Yeah,
Onto some
and
blockchain and some crypto. Go ahead, man. Sorry.
absolutely. No. That's all good. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And just in terms of how this was painted in the MSM, they try to paint it. Oh, look. Trump is we're becoming a fascist state. He's putting his own people, on the National Security Council and kicking out the CIA. Well, you know what? If you look at the last year, so you nailed it. And talk in terms of the body count, and then in this unpublished or in this published report, that the council had ordered political assassinations in 135 countries. That's just unreal.
Yep. That's what they do. He's taking control away from, he's making us more national, a fascist state. Really? Well, thank God he's taking us away from globalism. This is what they do. They just throw around names. Unreal, man. Well,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Fed seems to get the message.
absolutely. The Fed leaves interest rates unchanged, remains upbeat on the economy. My laugh through this V was with Yellen stating that she feels since employment rates are near full employment with the economy.
Jackass. Such a jackass he
Yeah,
is.
so
So,
the oh yeah, I mean the Fed did the right thing. I mean, in terms of leaving the rates unchanged. Obviously whenever it did raise, it kind of sent the markets a little bit in that that's why we remained stagnant for so long, was that they weren't sure what was going to happen. And then you look the
yeah.
moment that they did, what happened to the mortgage applications, and they completely crashed through that. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see the long-term strategy regarding what they do with rates for this year.
I think it's going to remain flat. I don't think she's going to be raising anything. And there's some exciting news on the Bitcoin front. There's Bitcoin transactions are sped up thanks to new technology by Gemini, which was created by those two twins, man, who claim to have created Facebook. Those two guys, what are their names? Oskies? What the hell's their name?
The Facebook
The
guys?
Winklevoss
Oh yeah,
brother.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Cameron. Yeah,
Right, right.
Winklevoss.
Cameron Tyler. Yep. Cameron Tyler. We can. Yeah, this is a big move because this has been one of those debates that's for so long. Roger Ver had talked about the need to expand the blockchains to account for the transactions. So what has happened is that Gemini has basically what they've done is kind of changed. Typically, most services will wait at least 3 to 6 confirmations before accepting a deposit as genuine in the Bitcoin transactions. So now what Gemini is doing is that basically they're speeding up that process to go ahead and authorize those transactions. So basically, this is quote unquote, we're running every Bitcoin deposit on Gemini through a proprietary analysis to determine how likely it is to get confirmed, even if the network is clogged with other transactions. If your transaction passes our criteria, which will take a few minutes, we'll credit the amount of your deposit and make it available for trading immediately. Yeah, so this is, this kind of goes to what Veer had been stating all along, that listen, we need to expand the blockchain. Why is it that one transaction may be for, half of a Bitcoin or whatever, is this handled this exact same way that someone, trading 25 Bitcoins? It needs to be looked at differently.
Exactly. 1000% correct, and that speeds up the network and the blockchain, makes things much more efficiently. So, yeah, that's good stuff, man. And also, the Swiss are opening up blockchain development. CJ.
Yeah, and this is again something that you've talked consistently about, is that not only with Bitcoin, but the technology behind it in terms of the blockchain. And so now Switzerland's government is actually moving towards regulations in light of what fintech is doing in terms of the blockchain. The Swiss Federal Council is looking at basically specifically investing over $1 million US to go ahead and move into more of a regulatory sandbox that uses the blockchain technology to help their finances. And again, this is quote unquote, due to the rapidly progressing digestion in the financial sector, in particular is the blockchain area. It can be assumed that business models will develop which are not yet conceivable today. The Federal Council will follow these developments closely also in the future and will swiftly propose the necessary regulatory adjustments if required. So yeah, I mean, this goes to show the technology and how it's going to change quite a bit. It looks like the Swiss are moving forward with it.
Yep, absolutely, man. I mean, you can't. Crypto is here. The blockchain is here. It's revolutionizing. It's changing things. It's the most important invention since the automobile, and it's going to be as vital to humanity as sliced bread, man. That's how serious blockchain is. You ignore blockchain at your peril. You ignore the technology. See, what makes Bitcoin so powerful is not just it's a currency. No, no, no. The real power and what attracts me to Bitcoin is the blockchain technology. Bitcoin is not a currency. I mean, it is utilized as a currency, but more important than anything else, Bitcoin is a technology like never before. And that is what makes it absolutely attractive. And that is what makes it unstoppable, is the blockchain technology. Said CJ, we are down for the we're done for the morning, man. I think we covered everything. What's going? I mean, this afternoon we're having a big, we're
Good.
having a double show today.
Right. Yeah, it's a very busy day. So we got we'll call it the day after Hump Day today with Bix, right?
Yep. Day
Today,
after Hump Day, big coming up.
yep, and then also hanging with Harley will be on today as well.
We got hanging with Harley at 12 p.m. and Bix at 1 p.m. So guys, hit the subscribe button. Hit that little bell icon so you can be alerted to when the new shows are up. Okay, so that's very important. And hit the thumbs up so show your love and support for us. And again, check out the articles that we have on roguemoney.net, which is myths, information, and forbidden fruit, American Maidan. Sorry, liberals, but most Arab Americans, Islamic states do not care about Trump's new immigration ban. And Donbass war, Ukrainian army offensive. They are all up on roguemoney.net. Follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money and check us out on Facebook, Rogue Money over there. And guys, if you have a podcasting, if you have a podcast app on your Android phone like Pocket Cast, or you have an Apple device, just type in Rogue Money, we will pop up. And also, if you have an Apple device, just go on the news app, type in Rogue Money, and boom, the latest articles will appear there as well. We are on Apple News, and soon we'll be on Google News as well. With that being said, guys, thank you so much. And again, get ready for this afternoon with Hanging with Harley and Day After Hump Day. See you guys then. Take it away, CJ.